Someone is watching you right now. Not through your phone camera, not through some government satellite, but through something far more ancient, more precise, more relentless. The Hidden Watcher. And if you've stumbled onto this video, it means you've already been marked. Don't click away, because once the Watcher notices you, it never looks away. Think about the chills you felt late at night when the room was quiet, when the air grew heavy, and you couldn't explain why you suddenly looked over your shoulder. That wasn't paranoia. That wasn't your imagination. That was the Watcher aligning its gaze with you. It studies your movements, not with eyes, but with a perception that slips through walls, thoughts, and time itself. Every hesitation you've ever had, every decision you've made, it's recorded. Pause for a moment and hit the like button if you feel this pulling at you already. Because if you're still here, you were meant to hear this. The truth is, you've always known you were being watched. Haven't you? Since childhood, you've felt it. The silent weight in the room when no one else was there. The strange synchronicities that follow you, the way certain numbers repeat, the way certain people appear at just the right, or wrong, time. These aren't coincidences. They're signatures, markers left by the Watcher to remind you. I'm still here. Now here's the part most people can't handle. The Watcher isn't your enemy. At least, not at first. It doesn't watch because it hates you. It watches because you are different. Because you carry something inside you, something that could either awaken you to a higher state of reality, or destroy you if you ignore it. That's why its gaze is fixed on you. It's not random. It's intentional. And the longer you deny it, the stronger it becomes. Ever wonder why people around you react strangely to you? Why some stare a second too long? Why others avoid your presence? Why certain people seem to test you without reason? It's not really them. It's the Watcher working through them, nudging them, forcing them to reveal how much control it has over your life. Every conversation you have, every silence you sit in, it's part of the study. And here's the unnerving truth, there's more than one Watcher. The one fixed on you is personal, yes, but above it, there are higher Watchers, hidden layers of surveillance that overlap dimensions. They can pass through the space between your thoughts. They can slip into your dreams. Sometimes you'll see them as shadows at the corner of your vision. Sometimes you'll hear them in the quiet static of an empty room. But their greatest disguise is to convince you they're not real at all. Why do you think the world is obsessed with distractions? Why are we flooded with noise, entertainment, and endless scrolling? Because the moment you sit in silence, you might feel that presence too clearly. You might start asking questions that crack the facade of this reality. And the Watcher cannot allow that, not until you're ready to face it. Here's a question I need you to answer honestly. When was the last time you felt like someone was staring directly at you, even when you were alone? That sudden, unshakable awareness, like your soul was being scanned? That wasn't nothing. That was the Watcher's signal that you've crossed into deeper observation. And right now, by watching this video, you're stepping even further into its field. But here's where it gets darker. The Watcher is not passive. It doesn't just record. It influences. Those random thoughts that pop into your head, the impulses that come from nowhere, the temptation to act against your better judgment, it's not all you. The Watcher plants suggestions to test your alignment. Will you follow your higher self, or will you bend to the path it subtly lays out for you? Every decision is a test. Every failure is a data point. And what happens when the Watcher decides you've failed too many times? That's when the real silence begins. Relationships collapse without reason. Doors slam shut just as you're about to walk through them. People you trusted turn cold. That's not bad luck. That's the Watcher withdrawing its protection and allowing the shadows it kept at bay to move closer. You'll know you're in that stage when your dreams grow darker, when sleep becomes a war zone, and when waking life feels scripted, as though unseen hands are arranging every step. But I didn't come here to terrify you. I came here to prepare you. Because there is a way forward, a way to meet the Watcher's gaze without fear, and when you do, everything in your reality begins to shift. You stop being a subject of surveillance and become a wielder of awareness. And once you step into that, no Watcher, hidden or otherwise, can control you again. Think about it. Why would a force this ancient, this precise, waste its focus on you? Out of billions of people, why are you the one marked? It's because you carry something rare, something most will never unlock. That's why your struggles are so relentless. That's why life has tested you more than others. You've been under preparation. The Watcher is not just observing, it's waiting. Waiting for the moment you awaken enough to turn around and say, I see you too. But here's the twist. Once you truly see it, reality doesn't look the same anymore. The walls bend. Time distorts. Synchronicities multiply to the point of being undeniable. People's masks slip right before your eyes. And the Watcher? It doesn't disappear, it steps closer. And when it does, that's when the real initiation begins. Let me leave you with this before we move forward. Ask yourself, do you really want to see who's been watching you? Do you really want to uncover what's been pulling the strings behind your coincidences, your delays, your sudden opportunities? Because once the curtain is lifted, there's no going back. If you're still listening, that tells me you're ready. So lean in, stay with me, because what I reveal next will change the way you look at every silent moment in your life. You leaned in, didn't you? That's exactly what the Watcher wanted. It's been waiting for this moment, the moment you willingly open yourself to see beyond the veil. And now the air feels heavier, doesn't it? That slight tightening in your chest, the sudden urge to look around your room. That's not coincidence, it's presence. The Watcher has shifted closer because your awareness has sharpened. This is the first initiation. Awareness itself is the doorway. The Watcher only reveals itself when you're ready to confront the truth that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. That's why you were drawn here. That's why your fingers didn't scroll past this video. You were guided, placed directly here, as if by invisible hands, because you're ready to learn what others would run from in fear. Now, let me ask you something you've never truly considered. How much of your life has been guided by unseen forces? Think of the jobs you didn't get, the relationships that collapsed suddenly, the accidents that were barely avoided. What if I told you those weren't accidents at all, but carefully calibrated movements orchestrated in the background? The Watcher doesn't just observe. It intervenes in subtle ways. It sets traps, but it also leaves breadcrumbs. And only those who can sense the difference between the two survive the game. Have you noticed how sometimes, just before something significant happens, your body warns you? A gut feeling. A sudden chill. A whisper that says, don't go there. Or, turn back now. That's not instinct alone. That's the Watcher testing your ability to perceive. The stronger your intuition, the more it feeds you signals. Ignore them long enough, and the signals grow louder, until they crash into your life like thunder. Here's the part that will unsettle you. The Watcher isn't just outside of you. It's inside too. It threads itself into your thoughts, your emotions, your subconscious. It's not an alien force, it's a mirror. A mirror of your hidden fears, your suppressed desires, your unspoken truths. That's why it feels so invasive. Because in reality, it's showing you everything you've tried to hide from yourself. Mini-hook, let me ask you this. What are you hiding right now? What secret would destroy you if it came into the light? The Watcher already knows. It studies the corners of your soul that you've never confessed to anyone. It uses those shadows against you, pushing them into the surface until you either collapse under the weight of denial or rise by facing them head-on. That's the only way through, confrontation. But don't mistake this for punishment. The Watcher doesn't torment you because it enjoys your suffering. It forces you into pressure because diamonds are only formed under intense compression. You are not ordinary. You were chosen for this gaze. And the Watcher knows that if you survive its trials, you will awaken to a level of power most humans could never comprehend. Now pay close attention, because what I'm about to tell you is not metaphor, it's literal. The Watcher communicates in three ways: synchronicities, intrusions, and silence. Synchronicities are the obvious signs, the repeating numbers, the uncanny timing of events, the words that reach your ears at just the right moment. Intrusions are more aggressive. You'll hear whispers when you're alone, see shapes in your dreams that feel too real, feel touches that no one else feels. But silence is the most dangerous. When everything in your life falls quiet, when opportunities dry up, when friends and allies vanish, that's when you know you're being measured. Silence is the watcher's scale, weighing whether you're strong enough to continue or destined to collapse. Now let's dig deeper, because there's something most won't dare say. The watcher is not singular. There are factions. Some watchers are aligned with light, guiding you to awareness, truth, and awakening. Others, darker ones, are aligned with control, deception, and fear. And sometimes they battle over you. Your life is not just yours, it's a territory. A field where unseen forces fight to influence the trajectory of your destiny. Ever felt torn between two choices, paralyzed because both seem to pull equally hard? That's the battlefield. That's the watchers clashing over your path. And here's a shocking truth: your voice matters in that war. What you choose, what you speak, what you believe, it tilts the balance. If you declare fear, the darker forces grow stronger. If you declare faith, light steps closer. That's why every word you say matters more than you realize. You're not just speaking to yourself, you're broadcasting signals into realms you cannot see. But let me warn you, once you recognize this, your tests will intensify. The watcher doesn't let you see its face without demanding something in return. Dreams may grow stranger. People may begin revealing their true natures around you. Secrets will come out. Things you thought were safe will feel unstable. This isn't punishment, it's initiation. And if you can endure it, something extraordinary waits on the other side. Here's the real hook. What if I told you the watcher can be confronted directly? What if you could look it in the eye and force it to reveal its purpose? Few dare to try, but those who do are never the same. They speak of moments where time stood still, where their room filled with a pressure so thick it felt like gravity itself was collapsing. They describe a voice, not heard with the ears, but inside the mind, that asked one simple question: "Are you ready?" And let me tell you, once that question is asked, there is no turning back. Because if you say yes, everything you thought you knew about yourself, about reality, about the world around you, begins to unravel. You will see the cracks in the system. You will hear the whispers in silence. And the watcher? It will no longer be hidden. It will walk with you. But if you say no, the watcher doesn't punish. It simply waits. It withdraws, leaving you to drift in the ordinary. But the problem is, once you've glimpsed even a fragment of its presence, ordinary never feels ordinary again. You'll always sense something missing, something unfinished, something watching from just out of sight. That emptiness gnaws at people. Some try to bury it with distractions. Others drown it with addictions. But it never goes away, because once the watcher marks you, you're marked for life. So here's my question to you: are you ready? Because the deeper we go, the more the watcher will reveal itself through this very message. You think you're just listening to words right now, but as they reach you, the watcher is leaning closer. Don't you feel it? The way the air just shifted around you. That wasn't imagination. That was confirmation. And in the next moment, you'll understand exactly why it has chosen you, and why escaping its gaze is impossible. You can feel it now, can't you? The heaviness around you. That strange pulse in the atmosphere that wasn't there before. It's not your nerves. It's not your mind playing tricks. The watcher knows you're listening, and every word you let in pulls you deeper into its gaze. This isn't just a story, it's a doorway. And you've already stepped through. The truth you need to face is this: the watcher didn't appear the moment you found this message. It's been with you since birth. Every cry, every laugh, every secret you whispered in the dark, it was there. It saw the nights you broke down when no one else noticed. It saw the victories you never gave yourself credit for. And in those moments, it wasn't silent. It was measuring, studying, learning who you are, who you could be, and who you were in danger of becoming. That's why your life has never felt random. That's why certain people showed up at just the right time, why others left when you needed them most, why doors opened only to slam in your face. None of it was by chance. The watcher choreographs the stage, but it's you who decides how to perform. And every choice you've made has brought you here, to this moment, to this message, to this awakening. But you need to know the price. Once you become aware of the Watcher, the tests multiply. It stops hiding behind coincidence and begins shaping reality in front of your eyes. You may notice strangers looking at you as though they know something. Technology glitching at precise moments, almost like interference. Conversations around you aligning perfectly with the thoughts in your head. That's not paranoia. That's calibration. The Watcher is tightening its grip, tuning your awareness like a frequency on a radio dial. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like your dreams weren't really dreams? Like they were rehearsals? Scenes so vivid they etch themselves into your bones. You wake up sweating, your heart racing, convinced something followed you back from the other side. That wasn't fantasy. That was contact. The Watcher often reaches through dreams first, because that's when your defenses are weakest. Pay attention. Write them down. Because hidden inside the chaos of your nightmares are coded instructions. The Watcher doesn't waste imagery, it plants seeds. But here's the question you need to face: do you trust it? Should you? Not every Watcher has your growth in mind. Some observe to prepare you for awakening. Others observe to feed on your struggle. The difficulty is telling the difference. That's why discernment is everything. Because when the wrong Watcher gains influence, your life spirals, not because you're cursed, but because you've been misled. So how do you tell the difference? Light or shadow? The answer is simple but brutal. Look at the results. A true Watcher aligned with your growth will push you into trials, yes, but those trials will refine you. You'll become stronger, clearer, sharper. The darker kind will push you into chaos that drains you, confuses you, and leaves you weaker than before. That's the divide. Growth versus decay. Awareness versus blindness. Which one have you been under? Think back. Your life holds the evidence. Mini hook. What if I told you that your relationships reveal which Watcher has its grip on you? Look carefully. When the people in your life suddenly turn against you without reason, when betrayal cuts deep, when love collapses, it's not always their fault. Sometimes it's the Watcher using them as pawns, testing how much of your identity is tied to the approval of others. The brighter the Watcher, the harsher the tests, but the outcome is always liberation. The darker the Watcher, the subtler the traps, but the outcome is always bondage. Which one are you in right now? Let me go deeper. The Watcher has one obsession above all else: your attention. Where your focus goes, energy flows, and the Watcher feeds on it. That's why distraction is the greatest weapon against you. If it can keep your eyes glued to meaningless noise, if it can keep your mind cycling through fear, desire, and doubt, then you'll never see the threads it's weaving around your life. But the moment you take control of your attention, truly control it, the Watcher's power begins to shift. Because attention is currency in this hidden war, and yours is more valuable than you realize. So here's a challenge. For one day, pay close attention to where your focus goes. Watch your thoughts like an outsider. Observe every time you reach for your phone without reason, every time your mind drifts into old wounds, every time fear whispers in your ear. That's where the Watcher is nudging you. Those are the pressure points it pushes to keep you from seeing the bigger picture. But when you catch it in the act, when you name it, you weaken its grip. Awareness cuts through manipulation like light cuts through shadow. Now here's where it gets darker. The Watcher is not always content to stay hidden. Once you reach a certain level of awareness, it manifests. Not always visually, though some have seen it in mirrors, in reflections, in fleeting figures at the edge of their vision, but through presence. The undeniable weight in the room. The sense that time just slowed. The electrical hum in the air when nothing electronic is running. That's the moment you'll know it's no longer observing from afar. It's standing right behind you. And this is where many people break. Fear consumes them. They try to run, to shut down, to drown themselves in distraction. But that's exactly what the darker Watchers want. Fear is the contract you sign without realizing. Fear gives them permission. But if you stand your ground, if you acknowledge its presence without crumbling, you trigger the next stage. You force the Watcher to reveal its intention. That's when you'll hear it. Maybe not with your ears, but deep inside your mind, the question. Always the same. Are you ready? This is the moment of no return. Say no, and you'll fade back into the illusion, haunted but unawakened. Say yes, and the structure of your life will begin to shatter. Illusions will crumble. Truths will surface. And you will never see the world the same way again. So here's my question to you, right now, are you ready? Really ready? Because what comes next will demand every ounce of courage you have. And once the watcher knows your answer, it will begin showing you the threads behind reality itself. You said it in your heart, didn't you? Whether you whispered it aloud or admitted it in silence, the watcher already knows your answer. If you said yes, even just in thought, the veil has already begun to thin around you. If you said no, then understand this, you didn't escape. The watcher doesn't simply turn its back. It waits. It lingers. And the longer you resist, the heavier its presence becomes, like a storm cloud gathering until it finally breaks. Now that you've reached this point, the watcher no longer treats you as a passive subject. You've crossed into engagement. It begins to align your reality in sharper ways, bending circumstances to corner you into moments of revelation. Suddenly, the coincidences won't feel soft anymore. They'll strike with precision. You'll think of someone, and they'll call within minutes. You'll dream of a place, and within days you'll find yourself standing in it. And when you look back, you'll realize your steps weren't random. They were guided, tracked, pulled into place. But let me give you the truth most won't admit. Awareness doesn't make life easier. It makes it harder, because now you can see the strings. The illusion is shattered, and you're forced to live with the knowledge that nothing is accidental. Every encounter, every delay, every betrayal, it's all being shaped around you. Some will find this unbearable. They'll wish they could return to ignorance. But ignorance is never restored once the watcher marks you. Once the curtain is pulled back, you can never unsee the stage machinery grinding behind the play of reality. Minnie Hook, have you noticed the watchers within people? Yes, I said watchers, plural. Sometimes the hidden watcher will look through the eyes of another human being. That's why strangers stare longer than they should. That's why someone you've just met feels like they already know too much. The gaze behind their gaze is not theirs, it's borrowed. And when it happens, you'll feel it. That burning intensity in their eyes, that strange stillness in their body. Don't dismiss it. Don't shrug it off as awkwardness. In that moment, the watcher is closer than ever, studying you directly through another vessel. Now imagine how many times this has already happened to you without you realizing it. That coworker who asked a question that cut too deep. That stranger who smiled at you like they knew your secrets. That friend who suddenly turned cold without explanation. Those weren't accidents. Those were tests, designed to measure your awareness. But here's the paradox. The more you notice the watcher, the more it begins to notice itself through you. Because you are not just being watched, you are becoming a watcher too. Your awareness sharpens until you begin to see patterns that no one else sees. The way people repeat phrases as though scripted. The way certain events play out like rehearsed theater. The veil doesn't just thin, it tears. And when it does, you realize the truth that terrifies most. You were never living in an uncontrolled world. You were always inside a system. A system of observation. This is where the darkness creeps in, because once you realize you're inside a system, the next question strikes you. Who built it? Who set the watchers in motion? Some say they are guardians, sent from higher dimensions to preserve the order of reality. Others say they are predators, feeding on human energy, using us as experiments. The answer is both, and neither. Because the watchers are not bound to good or evil in the way we define it. They operate on a scale beyond morality. To them, you are a puzzle, a fragment of potential, a spark of something greater. Whether they break you or awaken you depends on your response to their gaze. Think of it like fire. Fire can cook your food or burn your home to ashes. The watcher is the same. It can illuminate you or consume you. The deciding factor is your state of awareness. Fear fuels it in one direction. Courage fuels it in another. That's why the question always comes back. Are you ready? It's not asking if you're brave, it's asking if you're aware enough to stand without collapsing. But here's where it gets truly unsettling. Once you enter this stage, your thoughts no longer feel private. You'll start to notice how quickly reality reflects them. Think of someone and they appear. Fear something and it brushes against your life. Speak of a possibility and it manifests faster than it should. This is the Watcher syncing with your mind, pulling your inner world outward into the physical. That's why the stakes rise so sharply, because now, what you think begins to shape what you live. Let me test this right now. Think of the one thing you've been afraid to confront, the one secret, the one shadow, the one possibility you've kept buried. Hold it in your mind for just a moment. Do you feel that shift? That tightening in your chest, that sudden awareness that maybe you shouldn't have thought of it? That's not fear alone. That's the Watcher pressing back, scanning the weight of what you've just revealed. You are not imagining it. This is real. And here's the most dangerous truth. The Watcher is not external in the way you think. It's also inside you. It observes not just from outside your life, but from within your very consciousness. It lives in the part of you that notices yourself. That quiet, observing presence you feel when you catch yourself thinking, that's a fragment of it. The division between you and the Watcher is thinner than a breath. That's why you can never outrun it. It's woven into your being. But don't panic. This is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to awaken you to your duality. You are both the observed and the observer. The test is whether you collapse under the weight of being watched, or rise into the power of watching back. That's the shift that changes everything. And let me be brutally honest, the moment you watch back, reality will begin to bend in ways you can't deny. Synchronicities will accelerate. People's masks will shatter. The world will feel like it's cracking open before your eyes. And the Watcher? It won't retreat. It will step even closer. In fact, it's closer right now. Don't look away. Don't distract yourself. Sit in it. Feel that presence pressing at the edges of your awareness. It's not here to harm you. It's here to see what you'll do next. So tell me, when the veil fully lifts and the Watcher reveals its true face, will you run, or will you finally stare back without fear? Because in the next stage, you'll be forced to decide. The moment of decision is closing in. The Watcher has already tested you, pushed you, woven itself through your reality in subtle and brutal ways. But what happens next is unlike anything you've faced before. This is where the hidden begins to unmask itself, where the invisible begins to take shape. And you need to understand this. Once the Watcher reveals even a fragment of what it truly is, there is no turning back. You've already felt its presence pressing at the edges of your awareness, like a weight you can't shake. That wasn't the full reveal. That was only the threshold. The Watcher shows itself in fragments first, a flicker of movement where there should be none, the sudden shift of shadows that don't align with the light, the reflection in glass that doesn't quite match your position. These are glimpses, cracks in the mask? And if you've noticed them already, it means you're closer than most to crossing into the deeper layer. Here's the truth most run from. The Watcher doesn't look the way you expect. It doesn't take a singular form. Sometimes it appears as a shadow figure, sometimes as a blinding light, sometimes as an indescribable presence that feels more like geometry than flesh. Because the Watcher is not bound to one shape, it shifts according to what your mind can handle. Too much at once would break you. That's why it filters itself through fragments, giving you only what you're capable of perceiving at your current stage. But there's something even more chilling. The Watcher can borrow faces. Yes, human faces. It can show up as someone you know, someone you trust, someone who should not be there in that moment. Maybe you've experienced it already. The dream where a loved one spoke words that didn't sound like them, the sudden flash of recognition in a stranger's eyes that felt too familiar, too staged. That wasn't imagination. That was the Watcher cloaking itself in a form you'd accept long enough for it to study you up close. Minihook, think about it right now. Who in your life has ever said something to you that felt out of place, like the words didn't belong to them? Who looked at you with an intensity that unsettled you, even for a second? What if that wasn't really them? What if, in that moment, the Watcher was looking through them at you? Here's where the fear deepens. The Watcher doesn't only appear outside of you. It infiltrates the inside. The stray thoughts that don't feel like your own, the sudden urges that lead you into situations you regret, the words that leave your mouth before you've had a chance to think them through, those could be whispers of the Watcher. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes it nudges, guiding you with invisible hands into choices that seem random but are perfectly calculated tests. But remember, its purpose isn't to destroy you. Its purpose is to shape you. The Watcher wants to know, will you bend under the pressure, or will you forge yourself into something unshakable? Every push, every manipulation, every eerie manifestation is designed to drag you closer to that choice. Collapse, and you'll remain a pawn. Rise, and you'll become something far more dangerous, an awakened observer who can watch back. And this is where the confrontation begins. When you truly acknowledge the Watcher, when you stop running from its presence, it responds. It doesn't stay silent forever. Some describe it as a voice that speaks in riddles, others as a vibration in the chest, others still as a flood of images flashing through the mind all at once. But no matter how it comes, the message is always layered with the same demand. Are you ready to see? And if you say yes, reality itself begins to fracture. You'll notice time slipping, minutes that feel like hours, hours that vanish in moments. You'll see repeating patterns in the behavior of people around you, as if the script is glitching. You'll hear whispers in silence, not loud enough to terrify you, but clear enough to remind you that you're never alone. This isn't insanity. This is the fabric of reality bending under the Watcher's gaze. But here's what most don't know, this is also the point where you gain power. Because when the Watcher reveals itself, it's not only showing you its face, it's showing you your reflection. It's showing you that you, too, are capable of stepping into that role. You, too, can watch back, observe the threads, bend the patterns, and speak into reality with the same authority it uses over you. That's why it tests you so brutally, because once you awaken, you become dangerous to the system. Mini-hook, have you ever noticed how, after moments of deep struggle, you suddenly knew things you shouldn't have known? A gut feeling that turned out to be correct. A sense of timing so sharp it felt unnatural. That wasn't coincidence. That was your inner Watcher stirring, aligning you with the same awareness it's been using on you all along. The test is designed to awaken the Watcher within. And yet, awakening comes at a cost. Once you step into this role, innocence is gone forever. You can never go back to ignorance. Every conversation will feel layered. Every silence will feel heavy. Every shadow will carry possibility. Most people aren't ready for that weight. That's why they hide from it, drown it in noise, dismiss it as paranoia. But you wouldn't still be here if you weren't ready to carry it. The Watcher already knows this about you. That's why it has followed you so relentlessly. That's why synchronicities won't leave you alone. That's why your life feels different, heavier, stranger than others. You've been chosen not just to be observed, but to awaken. And whether you want it or not, that process is already in motion. So prepare yourself. The Watcher is moving closer. The tests will intensify. The silence will grow heavier. And when you look in the mirror, don't be surprised if, just for a split second, you see something staring back that isn't just you. Because in the next stage, the Watcher doesn't just reveal itself, it forces you to see the system behind it. And once you see that, you'll finally understand why you were marked in the first place. The silence is no longer empty. It vibrates now, like a hidden hum threading through the air around you. At first, you thought it was your mind playing tricks on you. But no, this is the next stage. The Watcher doesn't just test you with presence. It begins to show you the machinery behind reality, the system it belongs to. You see, the Watcher is not a lone entity. It's a sentinel. A guard stationed on the edge of perception, placed there to monitor those who are close to breaking free of the script. The script, that's what binds most of humanity. Predictable cycles, predictable thoughts, predictable choices. You've noticed this. How people move through life in loops, repeating the same mistakes, the same patterns, as though some invisible hand is directing them. That hand belongs not to the Watcher, but to the system it serves. Here's the truth. This reality isn't as free as you were told. Every decision, every reaction, every distraction is carefully woven into the structure of control. The Watcher observes, but it doesn't control. The system does. The Watcher is simply there to enforce its rules. And the reason you feel singled out, the reason you've experienced such relentless pressure, is because you've been breaking those rules without even realizing it. Think about it. Haven't you noticed how the more aware you become, the stranger your life grows? The more you see patterns others ignore, the more resistance you face? That's because awareness is a form of rebellion. Every time you notice the script, you weaken it. Every time you act outside of expectation, you bend it. And the system doesn't like that. That's why the Watcher has been studying you, because you are a potential breach. Mini Hook, ever wonder why your life feels heavier, harder, more targeted than others? It's not bad luck. It's surveillance. You've been flagged because you don't fit neatly inside the cycle. Here's where it gets darker. The system thrives on loops. Energy loops. Emotional loops. Trauma loops. It doesn't matter what shape they take, as long as you repeat, as long as you circle back to the same pain, the same fear, the same distraction, the system feeds. That's why you've been attacked in your weak points again and again. Not because you're cursed, but because the system knows that's where your loop tightens. The Watcher monitors these loops. It notes when you resist them, when you try to step out. That's why synchronicities explode around you in those moments, numbers, signs, repeating events. It's not always comfort. Sometimes it's tracking. A way of marking you, reminding you that your movements are being observed at a higher level. But here's the twist. This monitoring isn't just to control you. It's to give you a choice. You see, not everyone is meant to escape the system. Most people aren't even aware they're trapped inside it. But your awareness has already torn holes in the walls. The Watcher sees this, and now it wants to know, will you continue breaking this cycle, or will you collapse under the pressure and fall back in line? If you push forward, the system starts to glitch around you. Conversations sound rehearsed. People repeat the same phrases like NPCs stuck in a broken loop. Time doesn't flow smoothly. You start remembering things before they happen, sensing outcomes before they unfold. This isn't madness. It's exposure. The walls of the simulation are peeling back, revealing the scaffolding beneath. And then it happens. The Watcher gives you access to forbidden sight. You begin to see the threads. Not metaphorical ones, actual threads. Invisible lines connecting people, places, and outcomes. You notice how one person's anger infects an entire room. How one hidden decision ripples outward into chaos. How the smallest act of resistance creates shockwaves through the network. These are the threads the system doesn't want you to see. Because once you see them, you can pull them. And once you can pull them, you can unravel everything. Mini Hook, imagine this right now. What if every argument, every delay, every distraction in your life wasn't random, but calculated placement? What if those moments were strategically placed to keep you from noticing the threads holding the system together? Here's what most never realize. The Watcher itself is not your enemy. It is your threshold guardian. Its purpose is to terrify you into awareness. If you collapse, you're swallowed back into the cycle. But if you endure, you gain access to the higher architecture of reality. That's when the system itself becomes visible. That's when you realize you've been living in a construct, not a free world. But beware, when you step into this layer, the pressure doesn't decrease. It multiplies. Because now, the system recognizes you as a glitch, and glitches are dangerous. They expose flaws. They create openings for others to awaken. That's why those who've reached this level often feel isolated, abandoned, misunderstood. The system uses everyone around you as reinforcement, pulling them deeper into the script so you're left standing alone. It isn't personal, it's containment. Yet, even containment has cracks. Because once you've seen the system, you can't unsee it. And the Watcher knows this. It will come closer now. You may feel it in your dreams, walking beside you in corridors that don't exist. You may hear it in your thoughts, offering fragments of guidance mixed with riddles. You may even feel it physically, like pressure on your chest, or the sense of being touched when no one is there. This is its final test. Not to scare you, but to see if you can withstand the weight of knowledge. Because the truth is this: if you endure, the Watcher will stop observing you and begin revealing secrets to you. Secrets of navigation. Secrets of breaking loops. Secrets of bending the threads that hold this reality together. And once you hold those secrets, you're no longer a subject of the system, you become a threat to it. Mini-Hook, that's why, deep down, you've always felt like you didn't belong here. Like this world wasn't built for you. Because it wasn't. You were never meant to remain inside the loop. You were meant to break it. And now, the Watcher is preparing to step aside. Not to leave you, but to let you face the system directly. Because the final stage isn't about observation. It's about confrontation. Once the Watcher opens the door, you'll come face to face with the architects behind the system, the ones who built the script, the ones who keep humanity trapped inside endless repetition. And when that moment comes, you'll have a decision to make. Not just for yourself, but for everyone still sleeping in the loop. Will you use the knowledge to free them, or will you bend the threads to your own will and become something else entirely? The silence is breaking. The hum is rising. And the next step is inevitable. The hum grows louder, like the air itself is vibrating with an unseen current. It's no longer silence you're sitting in, it's a threshold. The Watcher has stepped aside. For the first time, you are not being monitored. You are being summoned. The door you felt pressing against your reality, the one hidden just beyond the edges of thought, it's opening. And as it does, the truth floods in. Not in whispers, but in waves. You see it all at once, the architects. The forces behind the system. They are not shadows lurking in alleys, not demons with horns, not creatures from myth. They are designers. Programmers of perception. Engineers of belief. They constructed the very framework of this reality, brick by invisible brick, loop by loop. They reveal themselves not in physical form, but in structure. You see them in the grid of light behind objects, in the repeating codes inside faces, in the strange symmetry of events that once felt random. They are not watching from outside, they are inside the very fabric of everything. And for the first time, you are aware of them. Mini-Hook, pause and ask yourself, what would it mean if everything you've ever believed to be random was scripted, not by God, not by fate, but by architects who profit from your obedience? The architects do not speak in words. They pulse. They press into your mind with impressions, intentions, emotions. The message is clear: you have been seen. You have broken through. And now, a decision must be made. They offer you two paths. The first is compliance. You may return to the loop, live a normal life, forget the threads, forget the Watcher. You'll be rewarded with comfort, distractions, pleasures to dull your mind, and the illusion of control. Billions accept this path without ever realizing they chose it. It's safe. It's simple. It's quiet. But the second path is dangerous. To take it is to step fully outside the script. To tear away from the cycle and confront the architects directly. To bend the threads, not be bent by them. To refuse the machinery of repetition. This path grants power, but it also guarantees isolation. Because once you hold the threads in your hands, the system will never stop trying to collapse you. This is why the Watcher tested you with fear, with silence, with pressure. It needed to know if you could withstand what comes next. Because facing the architects isn't about bravery. It's about endurance. Can you carry the weight of knowledge without breaking? Mini-Hook, the question isn't whether you're being watched anymore. The question is, now that you know the truth, what will you do with it? The architects begin to show you images. Futures branching like lightning across a storm. In one, you accept compliance, you settle into the cycle, you forget this encounter, and life returns to normal. You'll laugh, work, love, and die, never realizing the system fed on you until the end. In another future, you choose resistance. You tear at the threads, you pull at the cycles, you disrupt the loops. And for each loop you break, someone else awakens. Your rebellion ripples outward, shaking others free. This terrifies the architects. Because rebellion spreads faster than obedience. But they also show you a darker possibility. If you choose power for yourself, If you manipulate the threads to control others, to feed your ego, to build your own kingdom inside the system, you risk becoming the very thing you hated. Not a prisoner of the loop, but a warden of it. A watcher reborn in flesh, serving the architects without realizing it. That is their final weapon, temptation. Not fear, not punishment, but the offer of becoming one of them. The watcher's voice echoes faintly now, a reminder. You were not chosen to obey. You were chosen to decide. The air tightens. Time flickers. And in this moment, you feel the architects probing your choice. Will you return to the cycle? Will you rebel? Or will you corrupt yourself with power? Mini-hook, this is where you need to stop scrolling, stop drifting, and ask yourself, if the architects were in front of you right now, watching, which path would you choose? Because here's the revelation, they are watching. This isn't just a story. This isn't just a video. This is a mirror. The very fact you've made it this far means you were meant to hear this message. You've already been flagged as one who sees through the cracks. And this moment, right now, is part of your test. The silence that haunted you, the shadows that followed you, the strange resistance you've faced, they weren't punishments. They were preparation. You've been trained to endure pressure, to survive isolation, to trust your perception when the world called you crazy. All of it was to prepare you for this confrontation. So here it is. The architects are waiting. The system is trembling. And the watcher, the one who stood guard over your awakening, is stepping back, because its task is complete. The decision is no longer about whether you're being monitored. The decision is about whether you will live as one of the monitored, or step into the unknown as one who cannot be contained. Pause for a moment. Breathe. Look around you. Notice the details, the repetitions, the subtle loops already unfolding in your life. That's the system. It wants you to sink back in. But deep down, you already know, you weren't meant to be just another loop. Here's the final truth. The architects cannot force your choice. They can only present it. The watcher cannot decide for you. The system cannot trap you unless you agree to its terms. Freedom is not given, it is taken. And you have the chance to take it. Mini-hook, imagine breaking the loop. Imagine pulling a single thread and watching the entire illusion unravel. Imagine others awakening because you had the courage to endure. That's the power you hold. So, what will you do? Will you return to the cycle, comforted but controlled? Will you rebel, breaking loops and setting others free? Or will you seize power and risk becoming the very thing you fought against? The hum is fading now. The watcher's gaze is gone. The architects are waiting for your answer. And the silence that follows isn't empty anymore, it's charged. Because you are no longer just being monitored. You are being invited to decide the fate of your own reality. The question is not whether you are ready. The question is, what will you choose?